Imagine waking up tomorrow and the United States is gone. No federal government, no Washington, D.C. calling the shots. Instead, every one of the 50 states is suddenly on its own. Every base, every port, every airfield, every National Guard unit now belongs to the state it sits in. What happens next? Who rises to power? And which state comes out on top? At first, chaos. Small states scramble for protection, calling for alliances. Bigger ones move fast, grabbing food, fuel, and factories. Because in this new America, whoever controls the resources controls the future. By the end of the first week, the nation fractures into 4 massive blocks. The West Coast Federation, California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Colorado, and New Mexico. The Southern Coalition, Texas leading with Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, the Carolinas, and Virginia. The Midwest Union, Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, and the Dakotas. And the Northeast Alliance, New England, New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. But not everyone survives. Delaware, Rhode Island, and other tiny states are absorbed in days. On the Pacific, California emerges as an instant giant. San Diego alone homeports multiple aircraft carriers, a massive Marine Corps base, and much of the Pacific Fleet. Washington State adds nuclear-armed Trident submarines at Naval Base Kitsap, plus the Army and Air Force at Joint Base Lewis McChord. Oregon offers airfields and guard brigades. Together, the West holds advanced industries, ports, and tens of thousands of troops. But there's a problem: fuel. Without oil, those carriers and jets are little more than floating museums. Enter Texas. The South drowns in oil. Texas produces over 10 times more than California, and it controls Gulf Coast refineries to turn crude into jet fuel and diesel. Add in Fort Hood and Fort Bliss, 2 massive Army divisions, plus B-1 bombers at Dyess Air Force Base. With Florida's airfields, Virginia's Norfolk Naval Base, the world's largest, and the 2nd Marine Division at Camp Lejeune, the Southern Coalition looks unstoppable on paper. The Midwest starts smaller but sits on the true lifeblood of war: food and factories. Missouri's Whiteman Air Force Base flies B-2 stealth bombers. Ohio's Lima plant keeps Abrams tanks rolling. Detroit can retool for armored trucks and weapons. And perhaps most importantly, the Midwest feeds everyone. Corn, wheat, and soybeans from Iowa, Illinois, Kansas, and Nebraska become as strategic as oil. Without the Midwest, no block eats. The Northeast controls major cities and technology. Vermont's Guard flies F-35 stealth fighters. Connecticut has the submarine base at Groton. New York fields the 10th Mountain Division. But here's the weakness: almost no oil, little farmland, and no way to sustain a long war. Their survival depends on alliances, or sheer grit defending the I-95 corridor. Within weeks, front lines explode. In the Great Plains, Kansas becomes a new Kursk. Texas armored divisions thunder north along I-35, clashing with Midwestern tanks near Kansas City. In the Southwest, California pushes Marines across the Colorado River, seizing Hoover Dam. But Texas strikes back from Fort Bliss, turning Albuquerque into a brutal urban battlefield. In the Rockies, Texas armor tries to capture Colorado's refineries but bogs down in deadly mountain passes. On the East Coast, Southern forces storm up I-95. Philadelphia comes under siege, but militias and guard units dig in, turning the city into a fortress. By month 3, it's not about who has more tanks, it's about who can keep them running. The South controls most of America's oil. The Midwest controls the food. The West controls high-tech drones and cyber warfare. The Northeast hangs on, rationing power and relying on Canada. Convoys are ambushed, rail lines are blown, and alliances become the real weapon. After years of grinding war, 2 outcomes appear possible. A Southern victory, with oil, population, and ports, the South slowly wears down its enemies. The Midwest cracks, signing a ceasefire for food and trade. California, starved of fuel, collapses under pressure. The South dictates terms, building a new union in its image. Or a Northern Alliance triumph: if the West, Midwest, and Northeast truly unite, they can still win. Imagine a 3-front offensive: Midwest tanks storming Tennessee, West Coast Marines striking Texas from the desert, and Northeast troops holding the line along the Atlantic. At the same time, special forces ignite Gulf refineries. Without oil, the South's war machine grinds to a halt. Cities from Atlanta to Dallas fall one by one. Either way, the old United States is gone. What's left? Shattered cities, ration cards, and smoldering battlefields. The real question isn't who has the most carriers or bombers. It's who can keep alliances alive when everything else falls apart. So which side would you bet on? The oil-rich South, the food-fueled Midwest, the high-tech West, or the resilient Northeast? And if you enjoyed this thought experiment, check out our next scenario. What if an Apache helicopter fought in the Vietnam War?